Hi everyone, this is Sunil here. Good morning and good evening to all. If you have any doubts, then you can ask. We'll start with the doubts, otherwise, I'll start with the class directly.
Hi Sunil, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question regarding the match and merge rules. At a high level,
Mm-hmm.
does match and merge rule execute in a sequence? Is there a specific sequence that they follow, or is it just random?
No, it's a sequence. For example, if you go here, these are the match rules. There are 15 match rules. So it will be like
Uh-huh.
this. The first one will be executed. If this is not
Okay.
satisfied, then only it will go to the second one. If second one is not
Okay.
satisfied, then only it will go to the third one. Let's say if the third one is satisfied, then it is not going to go through all of this.
Okay.
It's
Got
in
it.
sequence. And it is also important what is the order of the sequence. If you give a wrong order, for example, if you put this here, then that will give wrong results and performance issues.
Okay. Got it.
You give it in order such that you make sure that this maximum number of records go for this, like from top three match rules, maximum number of records go for this, and in very rare cases, these are, I mean, the records go for this. Because problem is with performance, I mean, if a certain record executes all the 15 match rules, then that will have performance issues, because executing 15 match rules for a single record will be very, I mean, from performance point of view, it's a concern.
Okay. And another question was around the hierarchy.
Hmm.
So for a pharmaceutical client, there's a hierarchy where it can belong to a hospital and the practitioners
Hmm.
belong to the certain hierarchy, right? So
Correct.
can we handle hierarchy without getting license for hierarchy manager?
No, you cannot do that. For example, I'll just show you. This is the license file. If I open this license file, you see here hierarchy manager. Yes, if it is no, whatever it is no, right? For example, activity manager is, if it's no, like any component, if it is no, I cannot use that. So basically, it's not going to work if you use it.
Okay.
And for I think I have a model for hospital. For hospital, I think I have created a model. We'll see that later.
Sure.
Okay, so today, like, the architecture is complete. I mean, the architecture, we are done with the architecture. So architecture is complete. Just one second. I'll remove this. So we'll start with the introduction to the tool. So first, let's start with that. So basically, we are going to we talked about three layers: the database layer, the application server layer, and the user interface layer. That is the GUI layer. So today we are going to discuss more on the GUI layer. So the user interface, or the GUI layer. So that consists of basically two things. One is the MDM Hub console that you see, Infa MDM Hub console. That is a tool that you see in front of you. And there's a separate tool called as IDD, called as, or Informatica Data Director. So basically these are the two tools. You have other tools like BDD config and all that, but they are not, they are just for some, I mean, admin purpose. Like here you have BDD config, that is used to configure this application. Okay, and you have other support tools. That is, if you go here, MDM support tools, if you click, then there are some tools, support tools, but they are not that important. Anyway, we'll go through them, but this is just very simple, like match analysis tool. These are just recent edition. I mean, this was not there in older versions. This is just a recent edition Informatica has done. So that is why I said that you have basically two tools, and this tool 90 percentage of your time, or your what do you say, 90 percentage of people will be using this, and 10 percentage will be using IDD. The topic for today will be covering this workbench. Tomorrow I'll give you details on data profiling. Okay, data profiling. I'll tell you what is data profiling, and I'll show you an example also with the data profiling file. This is a data profiling report. What's the importance, especially what's the importance of data profiling in MDM, because for data warehouses, data profiling may be mandatory, may not be mandatory. I would say it's not mandatory. Okay, depends upon the architect and all that, but in MDM it is mandatory because it's very important. If data profiling is not done, then basically your MDM will be in deep trouble. So anyway, the topic for today is this, so we'll go with this, and tomorrow I'll give you a brief on the data profiling part. So we'll start with this hub console, Informatica MDM hub console. This is the tool that you see in front of you. The specialty of this tool is this is a single interface, single tool for most of the things. I mean, most of the things means there are many types of roles in an Informatica environment, Informatica MDM. There could be administrators, developers, data steward, manager, IT manager, there's a SIP developer. There are many kind of rules. Okay, for all these rules, let's say if you're supporting a production application, so even if the production application, you can monitor your jobs in batch viewer. So what I'm trying to say is this is a single tool that can do many things. I mean, almost all the things that is possible that needs to be done in MDM can be done using this tool, and it should be done in this tool, because you do not have multiple tools for in Informatica MDM. You have just this tool and another tool. The purpose of this tool is different. It's basically to serve the business. Okay, so the business, they do not note anything technical, so they would like to access it via web interface. I mean, this is the tool. This is called as Informatica Data Director. Okay, you'll learn that later, but anyway, I just showed you. So that is the Informatica Data Director. Okay, so the first point to note is using this tool you can do many things, and the second thing is you do not have multiple tools like in Informatica Power Center or in any other tool, any other software. You will see that there are multiple tools for achieving a certain functionality, but that's not the case here. And the specialty is you develop the code here. For especially, you go here and you create the mappings, cleanse functions here. If you want to test them, you do not have to run them with a sample set of data or something. You can just go here and you can simply test them. So that's very simple. You do not have to create a running component, or you do not have to do anything. Okay, it's very simple. So that's one thing. And let's say if you want to run it also, you do not have to go to a separate tool. You just go here in the batch viewer, you have to run it. And another interesting thing is you do not have to create the job to run it. I mean, this job that you are seeing here, the job is created automatically. So you just have to run it. So it's all very simple in MDM. I mean, if you just understand the things, if you put a bit of effort, then you can easily understand this tool. This tool is quite easy for managers, for architects, for technical guys to master. I mean, okay, so that's about the tool. Now let's understand these options one by one. File exit option is, let's say if you want to re-log in. So why would you use that? Let's say you're connected to this server, and let's say you disconnect and you hibernate your system. So tomorrow you do not have to cut this and then reopen the tool. Okay, all you need to do is just say relogin. If you relogin, automatically it connects to the server. Okay, or else if you want to change your user ID password, that also you can you can do that using this option. And target database is nothing but choosing the database. For example, you can click on this and you can choose the database here. You can choose any database and you can double click. If you double click, then automatically it goes there. For example, if I choose this and if I choose master database, if I say either connect or double click, both are same. So you see that So automatically you can see here this is the database, either the master or the ORS database which we are into. Okay, and this is the user which we are into. Both these options are nothing but the same options that you see here. Okay, change password is change password, don't need to explain. And this is about the tools that you want to see. Okay, so these are the tools in the quick launch. For example, if you want to, let's say if I click all of this and say okay, you will see all these tabs in here. I don't like that, so I'll remove it, but if you like it you can keep it for yourself. Okay, so now coming to the interesting part, this is important, write log. So basically when you log in into any repository, you will see that it is by default read only. Read only means you cannot change it. For example, if I go here, if I, let's say if I log in to here or any other ORS, if I log in here, then if I try to change something, for example, let's say if I try to go here and let's say if I want to add anything, let's say there are already 5 columns are there, and if I want to add anything, what I'm trying to say is if I want to do any change to the repository, by default I cannot do it because it's on read only mode. What you have to do is you have to say, you have to take a write log. As soon as I click on this acquire log, you will see that a lot of buttons will be enabled. For example, just see, when I click on this, you see this plus button and everything is enabled now. So you can now create columns. For example, click here, say this column is created. So that's what I'm trying to say. So always if you want to do anything, you must make sure that you acquire the log. It is important, and this is not only about the base object, this is about everything. I mean anything, let's say if you want to create a mapping, query, package, or any object, if you want to change or if you want to create new objects, you must take the acquire log. And there's a concept of acquire exclusive log. Acquire exclusive log is similar to what you have in Power Center or in Oracle. The concept is if you take this log, then no one else will be able to do any change. So this is like an exclusive log. So normally you do not need it. The only reason why you would want to take this is if you want to do serious admin stuff, like if you want to migrate the whole repository, full repository, something like that, or if you are doing a very big change in your system and you do not want anyone else to access that or change something, so then you acquire the exclusive log. And if you want to release the log, just click the release log. If you say, then automatically the log is released. And if you change the ORS, then the log is released automatically. Okay, you do not have to do it manually, it's automatically released. That's about the locking. And now you will see that there are clear
Sunil,
log. Yeah, that's what clear log means, release log only. That's the same thing.
Sunil,
Yeah.
quick question on the deployment and also you will have multiple instances of MDM like development, testing, UAT and production,
Correct.
4 separate instances.
That depends upon the infrastructure of your client. Normally it will be separate. There are two options normally people will go with. Companies, what they will do is dev separate, then you have SIT, system testing separate, then you have UAT as separate, and then you have, some people have also pre-production. Some companies do not have enough money to fund a pre-production machine, so that depends. So, and this is broad. So what you could do is, this is one case where all the installations could be different. Otherwise what could happen is this and these installations will be on the same machine with different ORSs. Okay, this will be on the same server but different ORS, but production will definitely be on a different server.
Okay, it's a repository to repository copy.
If this is the thing, you can do a repository to repository copy. Otherwise you have to put this repository in a file, change file, that's called as, using this repository manager, and then you have to import that file in here directly. You can also do it directly if they are in the same, but normally directly is bit avoided.
So basically, by object level we can do, or the whole
Yeah, you
repository
can
level.
do it in its multiple configuration. For example, if you go here, you can do it. This is like full repository. This is change list, and this is what you're talking about, promoting single objects. So you do promote single objects in Visual. Here you synchronize the repositories, and here you export the full dump. I mean full everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
So now let's start one by one. First of all, there are many tabs that you see here. Configuration, modal, SAM, data steward, utilities. Okay, you will be working on almost all. Um, this merge manager, you are going to learn it completely, but normally in a live project, you will not. You are not supposed to touch this. But in the test, in the training environment, we'll learn everything how to use all this. And apart from that, most of the all the things, you can say almost all the things we are going to learn, but especially on this configuration part, apart from this repository manager, you will not be working as a developer. You'll mostly be using the repository manager and nothing else apart from here. The most important tab for a developer is the modal tab, and for a data steward or an architect or a business user, it is the data steward. SAM, Security Access Manager, is related only to administrators, and utilities is common to all. Okay, so we'll go one by one quickly because we have to come. This is just a introduction into these things. The only reason why we are doing this class is to make sure that when you log in into the tool, this doesn't sound like these are something from Mars or Jupiter. I mean, they sound familiar to you. So when you see something like tool access, okay, I know what is tool access. I mean, I don't know 100%, let's say, but at least I know. So you'll feel comfortable. But the thing is, the details on that, for example, the schema, the systems and trust, queries, packages, all this will be covered in details in the respective classes. For example, the schema will be covered when we are going through here, the base objects and all that. And the mappings will be covered in here. Okay, and the cleanse functions that you see here will be covered here. The queries and packages that you see here will be covered in here. That is the 14th topic. Okay, similarly, all the topics are planned in such a manner that you understand things properly. Okay, so if you do not, I mean, if you do not expect that in today's class I'll give you details on all these things. My main motive is to make sure that you understand what all these tabs mean on a high level basis. Okay, so we'll quickly, if you do not understand, just try to remember. Okay, if you remember, the thing is you'll be familiar with these terms. What is a database, what's a user, what is security providers, all that. So in down the line in the future classes, you'll be more comfortable with that. Okay, so the first tab, again, the configuration tab talks about the admin user. It means if you want to use any of this tool in the configuration tab, you should have logged in into the master database. Let's say if I log in into an ORS, what happens? This tool can only be used with the master database. So that's clear. You cannot use this if you have logged in into an ORS. You must log in into an master database. If you click here, it will take you to the master database. Otherwise, you can go here and you can double click here as well. Now we are into this master database. I told you that the master database is all admin related stuff. So what it does is, the first thing, databases means it's a registration of all the ORSs. For example, if I click here, how many ORS I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, see, you do not need to worry that I have this many ORSs. This is a training environment. That's why we have multiple ORSs for classroom training, for online, and for others. But when you work for a project, you will see that you have one master database, and normally you will have one. At most, you will have two. Okay, not more than that. So no need to worry. So basically, what is this? This is nothing but all the ORSs that you have and the details of these ORSs. Okay, details of these ORSs. Let's say if I want to add one more ORS, which we have noted down here, that is how to create an ORS and how to add an ORS. That's there. We'll be covering that. So when we do that, you will see that you have to register an ORS. take the log, then you register an ORS. So basically this tab is about all the ORSs that you have in your installation, okay, in your product will be registered here. The interesting and the most important information here is the database ID, which will be used exclusively in SIF operations. You, without knowing this value, you cannot use invoke SIF, okay. So to invoke SIF you must know this. And another interesting thing is the production mode. If I put this on production mode, then the whole repository will be read only. No one can change anything, okay. And batch API interoperability is basically for real-time operations to enable row level locking, but no need to concentrate on that. This is a parameter again that puts a limit. This is related only to SIF that you will learn later. This puts a limit on total number, maximum number of rows that an get operation can get at max. So it's 200, and remaining this, I mean, this is just the JNDI data source, that is the Java name directory interface something. So basically this is used, the purpose of this is used to integrate this ORS with the application server. To integrate this ORS with the application server, you need to create a Java connection. You do not need to worry because the system does it automatically for you. All you need to know is you just see the details, okay. So no need to worry about that. If I want to add it, I'll show you later how you can add and register a database. Okay, now we'll move to the second thing, that is the users. The interesting thing about user is the users tab is basically to create users, so that's simple. But the interesting information here is you create users. You do not, for example, let's say you want to create a username Sunil in one, and you want to create another username Sunil in class training and another username Sunil in online too. That's not possible. Here the users will be for all the instances. For example, if I create a username, let's say Sunil, in this window, that user will be global, will be universal across all the ORSs. It doesn't mean that Sunil will be able to access all this, but what I'm trying to say is if you create a username Sunil, then you can, that applies for all the ORSs, okay. And depending upon the privilege, it will decide if you have access or not. For example, let's say if I log into this, and let's quickly create a user. You can later try that. For example, let's say I would say test. Okay, that's easy. So once you create a user, you go here and see this user. One second, you just take the log before you want to do an important thing. I want to assign user. Let's say what I do is I just created a username test, right? So what I'll do is let me just log in with that. Sorry, let me log in with that. Click on here. So say test. See what happens. It is not showing me any ORS. It's only showing me the master database. Okay. It's not showing me any ORS. You can see here. The reason is I have not given any privilege. So what I do here is I'll go to admin, then here what I'll do is I'll go here and just take a log. See, every time you re-enter a repository, you have to take the log. So take the log, you right click, say add user. Now add, sorry, not add user, assign user. You go here and say assign user. One second. Assign user. Okay, and you assign this username test to class lab and say, okay, now you will see if I log in, then this user has only access to ORS class lab. I'll quickly demonstrate that. Okay, you can see it has access to only these two things. So you create the users here and you do small level of authorization, not authorization, basically it's authentication. the authorization will be done in here. As I'll tell you, see, the authentication is done in here, author users and tool access, whereas this SAM talks about authorization. Okay, there's a difference between authentication and authorization. So authentication is basically authenticating the user. So when you authenticate the user, it doesn't mean that user has access to everything. What the user has access to all depends upon authorization. What the user is authorized to use, that's decided here. For example, which base objects, which are the MDM objects this particular user has access to. And remaining things are very simple in users. Here you give access. This is just a global password policy, just to, if I mean the minimum length, maximum length, the password expires or not. If expires, if I say expired, then say 90 days, then the password will expire in 90 days. So this all simple. Once you have access to the tool, you go through that.
Sunil,
Yeah.
can we assign the authorization at the object level?
Yeah, object label, that we have to do it here, security access manager, SAM.
Okay.
But here it's only authentication. We are not talking about authorization yet. It's all about authentication now. Authorization is handled in SAM, security access manager. For security access manager, you would see that, I'll just show you. You can see that the security access manager I told you is about authorization. So when it is about authorization, the authorization is nothing but assigning individual objects, I mean assigning base objects mappings to the user. So basically you would have to log in the ORS. You must be in an ORS to do authorization. To do the authentication, you must be outside the ORS, because authentication happens outside an ORS, whereas authorization happens inside an ORS. If you did not understand, no need to worry, you'll learn that later anyway. What's the question? So having an, do we have to go through DG as in power center? What is the question? DG means what is DG? Narendra, what is your question? Okay, so Pawan, there's a question. So having an access to ORS will not give access to, yeah. Having an access to ORS does not means that you, that's what I said, right? There are two things. There's an authentication, there's an authorization. So let's say you have authentication. It means let's say you get a ticket that you can go to a bank, okay, that the security guard allows you. It doesn't mean that you can go to directly the security vault where money is stored. That is called as authorization. Authentication is just that you are qualified to enter inside, whereas authorization talks about the objects that you have access to. So it's possible that you might go to a restaurant but you are not allowed to purchase anything because you need authorization for that. So both are different concept. No, there's no concept of versioning, deployment group and all that in MDM. In Power Center is quite advanced. The reason is Power Center, it's been more than 20 years since Power Center is in the market. So you have versioning, you have a lot of advanced things that are there in Power Center, but you do not have those kind of things in MDM, because MDM is relatively, it's almost like it's only 8 years old, Informatica MDM that we talk about. And in before 2010, this was called as Cyperion. Still a lot of people call this as Cyperion MDM. Still, I mean, even if it is renamed, it's been 5 years, still a lot of people say Cyperion MDM. And in 2010, it was acquired by Informatica, okay, and since then they are calling it as Informatica MDM, okay, since 2010. So it's been 5 years with Informatica and almost like 3, 4, 5 years with Cyperion. So it's a new, you can say it's not that old, because if you see other products like Oracle, that is 40 years old something. So this is not old, this is new only. Okay, now we're done with the users. Talking about security providers, security providers is nothing but LDAP. So what's an LDAP? LDAP is a very simple example is, let's say you are working, let's say Accenture. So in Accenture, your ID is, let's say, Sunil sunil.k@accenture.com. Okay, so the privileges, the authentication, authorization is done based on your email ID, right? For example, when you log into, let's say, Accenture portal, then you will not have access. For example, let's Sunil as an employee logs in into the Accenture portal, and let's say Amit Shah @ accenture.com. He logs in as a manager. So basically, let's say Amit is the manager of Sunil in Accenture. So Amit logs in into a portal. So he will have access to a lot of different things. Okay, he'll have access to the review, how many people are reporting under him, but Sunil will not have access to all that. That is typically implemented through the LDAP methodology. LDAP is widely used external authentication method. Okay, it's external authentication. External authentication means it has to be configured separately. It's a separate configuration. So you do this external configuration, and then normally how to implement this, whatever I told you in Accenture, let's say if you want to implement, then you have to create this logic in LDAP, then you have to integrate that with your portal. Okay, so that's how you do it. Same thing goes for Informatica MDM. In Informatica MDM, see, if I want to log in, what I'm doing here is I'm clicking here and I'm giving admin as user ID password. So that is called as internal authentication, because the authentication is happening internally, that is in Informatica MDM. But let's say I want something like, if I click on something, I will give my Accenture user ID and password, or let's say my client user ID and password, and I want this system to authenticate that. The authentication should be done on external thing, that is on an email ID or something. That is called as external authentication. That can be configured, and the method of configuration is the same. Okay, what you do is you create the logic in LDAP. See, LDAP is a completely separate thing. Okay, I'm telling you how to do it and how it is done, but you do not need to worry at all, because it's not used at all. First of all, let's say if it is used, still your system administrator, your Unix system administrator will configure the LDAP, and then he will give you a jar file. All what you need to do is, if you want to configure external authentication, you need to go here. You just, once the jar file is provided, you click on this. You say just upload that particular jar file. If you upload the jar file, then that is configured. Okay, that is Informatica provides support to external authentication using these security providers. And tool access is also very simple. This is the supportive of this. For example, Sunil, the user that we created is Sunil. So let me log in into Sunil. Sorry, not Sunil, we created test. So let me just log in with test. So let's say if I log in into this ORS, I cannot see anything here. I cannot see any workbench here. I cannot see anything. Why? The reason is I have to assign that. For example, let me go here, admin, master database. What I do is I'll go to the tool access. Here I need to assign the tools that test user is going to use. For example, let's say Mr. Test user is a data steward. Okay, so see, these options are not enabled because I have not taken a log. Let me take a log. So this is enabled now. So let's say Sunil is a data steward, and let's say Sunil also wants access to utilities. Let's say Sunil, I don't want to give access to configuration model, SAM, anything to Sunil. So what I do is I just give this to access. Okay, and what I do is I log in. Let's say I log in with test and select. So you can see Sunil has only access to, test has only access to data steward and utilities, nothing else. So that's, I hope you understood what is that. So basically it's still authentication. Remember, we are not into authorization yet. This is all about creating users and assigning it to a repository. that's the ORS store. And then this is about assigning which tools the user has access to. So that's simple. The authorization is done here, okay, and this is on an ORS level. Message queues. Yes, last class, in architecture class, we talked about there are two modes of communication. One is the batch mode and another one is the real-time mode. See, remember, whenever I say real-time in Informatica or in any MDM, basically what I'm trying to say, it is near real-time, okay, because real-time, implementing real-time with MDM, it's like impossible, okay, it's not possible at all. So it's always near real-time. Near real-time means it should happen within almost like 15 minutes. Normally they will say that it should happen within less than 1 minute. That's the real-time concept, near real-time. But normally it will take around 15 minutes. I mean, within less than 15 minutes the changes should be reflected. That's the concept, okay. And real-time means real-time. There's no um, it's very strict. I mean, you must do it within that time, okay. I mean, it should happen immediately within nanoseconds. If the data is changed in the source, within nanoseconds immediately that should be reflected in the target. That's called as real time. Anyway, so when we are using, so I'm telling you, if whenever I'm referring to real time, just remember that is near real time, okay. So real time, if you want to use batch mode, see, this talks about the outbound interface, okay. When we are in the message queues, we are not talking about inbound interface, we are talking about outbound. Outbound means how do you send the data that you created, the master data, to target systems, third-party systems, subscribers, downstream applications. How do you do that? Using two things, batch mode, real-time mode. I'm not going to explain both of these, okay, because anyway this is not, I mean, this will be covered later, but I'll tell you, if you want to implement batch mode, that has to be done via an ETL like Power Center. You need to extract data from the base objects and then give them to the target. But if you want to implement real-time mode, that has to be implemented via JMS queue, Java Messaging Service, JMS queue. That is nothing but this message queue. You have to configure this message queue, okay, which is already configured. I'll show you. For example, two message queues are configured here. This will be covered in here, the JMS queue. We'll learn this in details in the JMS queue. Okay, now repository manager. See, repository manager is a very big topic. I mean, it's a very big topic because it needs complete full day. So we'll cover the repository manager once we do all of these things, because to understand repository manager, you must understand what's a cleanse function, what's mapping and all that, okay. But I'll tell you what is a repository manager. Basically, repository manager is all about migrating things, or you can say deployment or migration. I'm talking about code migration. I'm not talking about uh, what you say environment migration. I'm talking about code migration, or you say code deployment. So these two IT processes are implemented using this repository manager. In previous versions, like in versions prior to version like 10, you will see that this will be called as metadata manager. So if you see, if you log in into an old tool, don't get surprised if you see something like metadata manager. The name is the same, the functionalities remain the same. I mean, the name has changed, but the functionalities remain the same. What are the things that we can do in this repository manager or metadata manager? We can migrate objects. Migrate object means, let's say if you want to migrate the whole repository, you, let's say if I want to migrate this, so what I do is I just go here, export, and I choose that particular repository, and if I click on this particular thing, so this will be saved. Already I have done that later, which I'll show you later. So if I say XML, this is going to take 5-10 minutes because this repository is quite big. Okay, so what it will do is it will export everything that you see here into a file. Okay, and that file will look like, yeah, this will be an XML file, change.xml. Okay, And you can also do individual code promotion. You can also do synchronization. Instead of doing that, you can also do synchronization. There are many options, but just remember that basically this is a tool that is used for code migration or code deployment. Enterprise Manager is completely an administrator tool where you can monitor. For example, if I open the architecture, let me open the architecture quickly. And we talked about many things. We talked about a hub server, a cleanse match server. We talked about hub stores, okay, master database, ORS, all these things that you see here. Using the enterprise manager, you can monitor all the things. For example, hub server, you can monitor what's the configuration, what's the memory, what's all the details. The process server, you can monitor, okay. So the process server is something you need to have a process server for every ORS. Okay, so for every ORS you need to have a process server. Let's say you do not have a process server for this ORS. It means you can only create objects. You can create mappings, base objects, all that, but you cannot run them. You cannot run them. Okay, so that's the thing. Now master database, nothing interesting about master database, just static information. ORS is important because this is especially used to integrate Informatica data quality. Let's say if you want to integrate IDQ, Informatica data quality, with MDM, okay, integration of IDQ with MDM. If you want to do, then you need to create the IDQ component, you need to create the model repository service and all those things, install it separately. Then you need to provide the configuration here. You just say write log, and then you need to provide the details here. Okay, you need to give all the details here, whatever details. Okay, once you do that, then that's enabled. Okay, so this is a new feature in Informatica MDM. The new feature is, it's called as platform staging. Okay, I'll tell you what is platform staging. As of now, what you have understood is we use an ETL to drag data from the source systems into the landing tables, and then landing to staging tables are done via mappings, and from staging table to the base object is one-to-one load. That's what I told you, and that's the normal method. Starting from version 10 onwards, Informatica version 10 onwards, you have something called as platform staging. You have something called as platform staging. Platform staging is something where you use IDQ to do cleansing. I mean, complete cleansing, you do it in IDQ. That means you are not going to use the concept of mapping and landing table at all. In this, platform staging is a method where landing table is not used at all and the mappings are not used at all. Directly using an IDQ mapping, you'll use an IDQ mapping to insert data directly into the staging tables. That's called as the platform staging. Okay.
So basically you can directly read from the source and do the address standardization or any cleansing operation using IDQ.
Yeah.
And load into stage.
Yeah. So normally what we do is we do the cleansing in the mapping part here. So if you use platform staging, this is cut off. I mean, the landing table is crossed. I mean, it's not used. This mapping is also not used. Directly you can insert data to the staging table. Just try to understand that this is not a small thing. Small thing means this is not, do not think that using an ETL you can do that. For example, using Power Center, if you want to directly put data into the staging tables, there will be issue. The reason is there are a lot of system columns that are there in the staging tables. If you directly put data to the staging table using an ETL, the system columns will never be populated. So you would have to integrate IDQ with MDM, and when you integrate that and when you insert data into the staging table, those system columns will be populated only if IDQ has been integrated, so that Informatica knows, MDM knows, and the IDQ knows both are integrated. Okay.
But Power Center can't be integrated?
Power Center, your Power Center integrated means into this staging you are saying?
Yeah.
No, into the staging. I mean, there is a method, but I mean, I don't know if it is supported anymore in version 10 or not. But yes, there is a method. You can do that. There's a lot of configuration. I mean, libraries and all that. But normally, Power Center is not that good. But yes, you can do that. And there is some other.
Vinay,
Yeah.
one question. I'm just trying to understand at a high level. Can we say IDQ is a combination of cleansing plus a Power Center tool, right?
IDQ is a combination, that's correct. IDQ is a data quality tool. That's a combination that can be used as an ETL also, and it can be used as a specialist data quality tool. So what you said is correct.
Okay.
And see, when we are talking about this operation, platform staging, I'm talking about batch mode. Okay, I'm not talking about real-time mode because that's not the real time. So when I'm talking about batch mode, there is no question of SIF. SIF is not there at all. When I talk of real-time mode, I'm talking about SIF. So let's not confuse that this platform staging has anything to do with SIF. It has nothing to do with SIF. Okay, this platform staging is only for batch operations. Okay, nothing to do with SIF. Okay, you can also, again I'm telling you, using Power Center also you can directly do that, but that's not, I mean it's you'll there are a lot of bugs that are there, so you'll face issues. You have to set many things manually, Java libraries and all that. In version 10 the integration is automatic means you can see here it's there via the tool, but if you want to use ETL like Power Center to directly put data into the staging tables, it's a very long process. I mean, in using Informatica, if you see in Google, there is a what do you say? There's a video from what do you say? Informatica support. This is from Informatica support. You can see that using this method you can use Power Center to load data into the staging table, but this method is not foolproof in the sense there are a lot of, I mean you'll face a lot of issues. So you can do that, but it's not, I mean, advised. So
So one thing is taken, right? If we want SIF that is near real time, we won't be going with this option.
no, SIF is a completely different concept in itself. Okay, SIF, there are two things in SIF. SIF, you can use the landing, I mean this concept you can use it, that is a cleanse put, okay, and the put where you can directly insert data to here, but the methodologies are completely different because SIF is real time. See, real time is one-on-one processing. One-on-one processing means batch. What is a batch? Like for example, this training, I'm conducting a training batch, so there are a lot of people and I am doing at a particular time. Real time means you call me at any time, I must answer. That's real time. Okay, and one person must call me at any time. Two persons cannot call me at single time. That's called as real time. So real time means, see, for example, this is a website. Okay, so let's say if I go here and if I say shoes, so this is an example of real time, and I click here, then I get this thing in real time. Okay, but batch is something, if I say, if I write a request here, okay, then after 6 o'clock or after 7 o'clock my record is processed and I'll get the details. That's called as a batch mode. So batch
Yeah,
real
I
time is
get that.
yeah.
So my question was something else, right? Say now we have SIF, right?
Mhm.
And SIF, we want to send some record. So on a real time, it will be as rough as we probably would see it in a landing table because it's probably coming from one of the sources,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So that data before it makes to the base table, it's an API, right? So it has to go through some kind of cleansing and standardization
yeah, that's what
to
I'll
go to the base.
just see. I think I'll just show you that so that there is no confusion about that. There are
So
two.
if we are going to deal with it in SIF, we can skip it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, no,
fine
no.
with it, but I just want
I'm
to.
not spending much time. I'll just quickly show you what I'm talking about. There are two operations in SIF to insert data. One is called as a cleanse put, that is cleanse put. Another is called as put, PUT. If you use put, then data is directly inserted into the base object. Okay, so that's direct insert. But if you use a cleanse put, you can see there the landing table, you can see here that the landing table, see, it replicates the stage and the load batch and the landing process. Remember, it replicates. It doesn't mean that it is actually going to use the landing table and staging table, because it is going to use something similar to that. It is going to use the mapping, but it's not going to use the landing table and staging table. But yes, the cleansing, standardization, enrichment, data validation will happen if you use cleanse put. That's the method. Okay.
But now, if IDQ is sitting, it becomes external and
IDQ,
it can't do a cleanse put.
IDQ, when we are talking about IDQ, the platform staging is for batch mode. You understand, right?
Okay.
It's for
Okay.
batch mode. We're not talking about real time. Real time mode
Okay.
is different. If you want to use IDQ with real time, you have to do it in the cleanse functions.
Okay, wherein hung is from
Or
from a
else,
perspective,
if you want
client is
to use real time with, let's say, using IDQ, what you have to do is you have to enable web services. Okay, the concept of web services in IDQ or in Power Center, and using that you can do it. But normally that's not done it in that way, but you can do that.
okay.
For JMS method, do we need to, I think Sanjay, there's a question for JMS method also, do we need to go on for all this? I think your question is already answered, the same thing Pawan has said. Okay, so for real time, when you speak of JMS, it's basically real time. For real time mode, the landing and the staging table is not used, remember, but the method, that is the data flow. If I go to the architecture, in the real time, if you use a cleanse put, the landing table and the staging table will not be used, because there are separate landing staging table for batch, for SIF, and separate for uh, real time, separate for batch. So the method will be used, that is this mapping, this cleansing logic, standardization, all these things will be used, but this is not used. Okay, I mean, this physical tables are not used because they are reserved for, remember, I'll tell you one thing why they are not used. Can you tell me why they are not used? I mean, why a real time is not going to use this thing? Can you tell me why? See,
It has to go to
a real time will be 24/7. You understand, right? A real time will be 24/7. A batch mode will, let's say, if it runs for 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Let's say you are processing around 10K records. Now, I cannot stop this. This must also run and this must also run. When this job starts, I cannot stop this because this is real time. Real time means this must run 24/7. So if same tables are used, what will happen? There will be trouble, right?
the batch will fail.
Yeah, batch will fail. So that is why Informatica uses separate tables for real time, separate for batch. But the logic, the mapping will be used. Same mapping will be used for cleansing, validation, and all those things. Okay.
Will there be any entry in the raw table using the JMS?
Using the JMS, no, raw table is not used. Reject will be used if you want to use reject, and there will be separate OPL tables. For example, if you
Now, how would
see,
you track if the queues are being processed properly or not?
yeah,
If there is an entry in process?
that is tracked in the application server. In the application server, you have to log that into an separate database or something. You have to create that logic. There is a method of delta detection. You can see here. You can use something similar to a delta detection that you have in the batch mode, that is supported. Okay. Okay, so I think we are not able to cover much today. I mean, from only this thing we covered. So we'll try to cover from here is tomorrow. And
Hey,
there's a
Sunil,
lot
we
of
need that setup to Sunil.
I have forwarded you, right? I mean, did you try to configure it?
Um, could you do us a favor? I was little lost there. Just open it for like 30 seconds and tell what.
Okay, fine. So
Staring at a document at times doesn't help.
yeah, okay, fine. That's correct. Actually, I planned it for today, but I don't think we'll be able to do it today. So we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll show you
Okay.
how you configure that. But that's very easy. But I'll show you. Once I show you, then it's more. I mean, you'll be more comfortable.
And also, could you just give your admin number or alternate number? Should we have any issues, we can just talk it and sort it out, because weekend is coming. We can get a little more relaxed time to look into it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What's his number, Satish?
Okay, yeah. Yes, sure. I'll do that. And there's a question from Sanjay: for this JMS process, do we need really good Java programming knowledge to implement? See, if you're talking about SIF, then SIF has to be completely implemented on Java. Okay, I'll tell you how to do it. Okay, using SOAP also and everything. But basically, if you want to implement SIF, it is done on Java. But you do not need to worry. Normally, the reason is SIF there will be a separate developer dedicated to SIF developer. Okay, so there is a separate Java developer who is dedicated to SIF. If you want, you can also work as a SIF developer. That's fine. If you know something about Java and if you like to work, you can work. Okay, because in many projects I have seen MDM developers doing the work for SIF also. So if you want to work in SIF, yes, you need basic Java. You don't need advanced Java. Okay, you just need basic Java concept. Basic Java concept means you can learn that within few days itself. I'm not talking about applets, servlets, all those things.
Sunil, can you provide us with like a strong use case for a real-time integration?
Strong use case. Use case means what exactly you?
I mean, like a scenario, like a requirement from the client saying that.
Yeah, I'll tell you about SIF. The integration. See, the concept here is in other tools. I worked with Siebel MDM and other tools. In Siebel MDM, let's say if you want to, let's talk about this architecture. Okay, here. Okay, here, if I want to integrate this system with MDM in real time, I must use SIF. I do not have any alternative. In other tools like Siebel MDM, already it is there. You do not have to create anything. But in Informatica MDM, there is no use case because you must use it. If you want to integrate real-time system, source systems with real-time, you do not have an option. You must go with SIF. You understand, right? That is, I'm talking about integration. But yes, for these cases, I'll tell you where you might want to use what. Okay, I'll tell you. No need to worry.
So Sunil, you worked on the SIF bidirectional or unidirectional? Only listening from the operational systems to the.
See, SIF is something similar. The concept is, if you want food, okay, if you want, let's say, pizza, burger or something, you go to a hotel and then you give the order and then you pay the money, then you get your things.
Yeah, I got it. So basically the thing what I'm trying.
That's one way. So that's what I'm saying, right? It is one way. One way means you are invoking the operation because you want it. The MDM doesn't want it. The inbound interface is using, when you use SIF, basically it's unidirectional. I mean, you send a request to that and then you get a response. But you can say the bidirection say it's like this. Let's say you, Sunil, I need something, so I am invoking this SIF operation. Then it is bidirectional in a sense that the MDM will again send a response to me. For example, if I say, what is the name of this particular person in MDM? So I send a request to MDM. I get a response that this is the name. If you're saying that is bidirectional, then yes, SIF is bidirectional. But normally it is invoked from an external application. Okay, so you understand right now?
Yeah, I mean basically in a CRM, when a new entry for a customer happens, immediately it invokes or sends a message to the SIF and it listens. Basically SIF is constantly listening to the CRM system, as and when any change log happens,
Correct.
it pulls that record.
Correct.
Okay, so I mean to say in the sense that MDM data, once it is enriched or became a master record, is it published back to the
Yeah,
sources?
let's see. First thing is, do not get confused with SIF and message queues. SIF and message queues are different things. So let me clarify this correctly. SIF comes to the picture here as an inbound interface to put
Okay,
data
it's
into
only
here,
inbound.
whereas the JMS queue, what you talked just now, is this. Both are different. The JMS queue doesn't stand. I mean, see, the both are implemented in JMS queues. Okay, but
Yeah.
this message queue that you see here, this is talking about this interface, and the SIF is
Okay, it's
nothing but this interface.
okay,
You,
publishing and
Yeah.
listening.
yeah, publishing is here using the message queues. This is using SIF.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunil, in SIF in the SIF case, MDM is a consumer, right? MDM, right?
MDM is a consumer. That's correct. That's what I'm telling, right? MDM is a consumer here.
Okay.
But you can
Whereas J,
also say that MDM is a consumer mainly if you want to put data. But let's say if you want some information from MDM, let's say there's a name called, there's a customer information ID is 1011 and you want his details, then SIF is, I mean, this MDM is not a consumer anymore. It is what you say. This is the consumer.
yeah, it's in that case it is just like JMS, right?
Yeah, similar, correct. This interface happens over the JMS queue, Java Messaging Service.
Okay.
See, again, I'm telling you, there are these two concepts are different. SIF is different, message queue is different. You will get confused. The reason is the method of implementation both has to be done on JMS queue, but this outbound and inbound interface are completely different.
Sunil, I have a question regarding the outbound part. So if like a data mart wants to look up a customer dimension or a customer MDM, look up a customer and populate one of their report. So can it run like a regular lookup, or should it go through uh, the, the queue part?
No, no, actually, I got diverted. Can you repeat your question once again?
Sure. So in a like a
Uh-huh.
data mart is is consuming the customer MDM. So if they have to look up some customer information and populate their report, do they go like use a regular lookup using PL SQL or Power Center, or do they have to go through the message queue?
No, actually, so I'm sorry. Actually, I'm getting other different calls. So just one second.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Please repeat your question. Sorry for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you're
So
saying is this.
yeah.
It's
So
MDM is there.
MDM.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for example, let's imagine that a customer MDM is implemented and it's complete.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
data mart is using that as a dimension, like looking up the information and then populating their reports.
Correct. Okay.
So data mart is on like Oracle data, pure Oracle data database and dimensional model. So uh, can we configure in a Power Center to look up in MDM, because MDM is an underlying database is on
Yeah,
Oracle, right?
you can
Can we
do
do
that.
regular?
You can do that, but normally you the data marts will not have direct exposure to the MDM. The
Uh-huh.
expose will happen via views. For example, this data
Use.
will be written to other tables, and then views will be created on top of that, and then these people will
Oh,
have access to the data. Data means they will not have access, real-time access to MDM data, data marts, data warehouses.
okay.
That is
So it will
restricted.
be data dump and then a view on top of the data
Yeah,
dump.
yeah, because we do
Okay.
not allow direct access to them. We allow direct access via real time, not batch mode. Okay.
Okay.
If they
Okay.
want it via real time, let's say they can do that. What you're saying, right? They can do that.
Uh-huh.
If they want to integrate using either message queues, or let's say if using SIF they want to do it, they can do it. Okay.
Okay.
I think most of the time it is ODBC connectivity and through the views.
Yeah,
Okay.
ODBC connectivity through the views, but yeah, using SIF, this can be implemented. Okay, this can be implemented, what he's saying. But again, this coding needs to be done, I mean, for SIF.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll finish it off for today. Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Anu.